Ever since the Super Mario Bros. Movie took the world by storm, one of the most famous aspects to it has got to be Bowser's infatuation with Princess Peach, especially the scene where he sings a song in dedication to her on the piano. But because of Bowser's attitude regarding Peach and how he treats her both in person and otherwise, it has led many to draw parallels between him and Hal Stewart slash Titan, the villain of Megamind, who's also famously infatuated with the female lead. But that being said, one really can't help but ask, can a comparison actually be drawn between the two? Do they really have that much in common when it comes to their respective desires for a female companion? And today, I would like to try and answer that question. Is Bowser really that similar to Titan when it comes to how he views Princess Peach? And obviously there will be spoilers for both movies ahead, so in case you haven't seen either of them yet and don't want to know what happens, you should probably click off the video. This will be your one and only warning. Okay, so to go over the similarities first, it is true that Bowser and Titan do have quite a bit in common. Both are extremely strong and very powerful. Both let that immense power go to their heads. Both act like man-children. And, of course, both want the female lead for themselves and will not take no for an answer. But the thing is, how both these characters go about dealing with their lust for their respective women is actually pretty different, to the point that I would actually say that trying to compare the two wouldn't work very well. Now once again, both want their woman and will not accept rejection. That much they have in common. But beyond that, there isn't really too much that's similar between them. Because as most of you who watch this channel already know, Hal Stewart's problems come from a major entitlement complex. He wants Roxanne, so he believes he's destined to have her, and it's all about trying to find the right way to get her. The only problem with that, however, is that he makes no effort to understand her or improve himself so that she might genuinely come to like him. Instead, he only puts in the bare minimum to try and impress her, always being nice and friendly, maybe a little too friendly, only tries to make himself compatible to her if he thinks it will get him ahead with her, and most notably, only tries to woo her with things that he believes would work on any girl. Which is what leads to the infamous line, "Chicks don't like bouncy houses, they like clowns!" Because he honestly believes that if he had rented a clown instead of a bouncy house, that would have been the deciding factor in her deciding to come to the party. He's completely oblivious to both the fact that Roxanne is still majorly depressed over the death of Metro Man, and thus wouldn't be in the mood for a party to begin with, and that he goes about trying to invite her in the creepiest way possible. To put it simply, Hal's complete lack of self-awareness, combined with his putting in no effort to figuring out what Roxanne likes, makes all of his attempts to charm her doomed from the start. And once again, because he only tries things that he assumes all girls would like, once Megamind chooses him to become a hero, he goes along with it mainly because he believes that will be what wins him Roxanne's heart. Because of course all girls love superheroes. But that doesn't change the fact that she had shown no interest in him before that, and he wouldn't take the hint. As well as that his attempts to woo her as a superhero are even worse than before, and not to mention nearly get her killed. And yet, he thinks she's going to be grateful to him for saving her life, despite the fact that he is the one who put her in that situation in the first place. Seriously, Hal must have missed the memo that Superman and Spider-Man weren't the ones to put Lois Lane and Mary Jane in danger before they saved them. But the point is, once Roxanne tells Hal in black and white that she will never love him romantically, Hal has a complete breakdown because he just cannot comprehend that she wouldn't be with him. He felt it was such a foregone conclusion that they would end up together that he never even considered the possibility that she would reject him. And once Megamind unleashes his temper, he goes the "if I can't have you, nobody can," and "you broke my heart, now I'm gonna break something of yours" mentalities full throttle. To put it simply, Hal's infatuation was never going to work out, and it was all because he didn't put in any genuine effort to have her, but felt it was still a given that she would end up with him anyway. Seriously, no matter what that's in reference to, that almost never works out. With Bowser, however, that's not exactly the case, because let me just say, Bowser's lust for Princess Peach is his entire MO. Almost every video game centers around him kidnapping her, both so he can have her for himself and so he can take over her kingdom. And why does he do this? Because he's a brute that takes everything he wants, and Princess Peach is no different. Basically, Bowser is somebody who's used to getting what he wants, by force or otherwise. So if he wants Princess Peach, he will take her, and that's simply the end of it. Though, thankfully, because these are children's video games, the darker implications of that are never explored, and it's even implied that Bowser wouldn't take things that far regarding her unless she wanted it. But the point is, when it comes to Bowser, the man gets what he wants by any means necessary, and the movie brilliantly shows that. He wants Princess Peach as his wife, and he will do anything to get her to agree. And if she won't, then he will destroy her kingdom so she will have nothing left to rule, which is probably part of a more long-term backup plan to have her eventually come back to him on her own terms because she has nowhere else to go. But he makes it obvious he doesn't think it will even get to that, because you also got to keep in mind, the only thing bigger than Bowser is his ego. As far as he's concerned, he's the greatest person ever, and the absolute best at everything. So why would Princess Peach ever turn him down? And what doesn't help is that he's surrounded by a bunch of minions who tell him exactly what he wants to hear all day, which only makes the image he has of himself even bigger. To put it simply, he probably can't even comprehend why anybody would turn him down if he gave them the honor of asking them to marry him, and probably sees Princess Peach's refusal as simply her playing hard to get. In fact, you notice during the wedding when Peach asks, "Did you seriously think I would ever marry you?" Bowser, whose first reaction to everything is to get violently angry, seems genuinely confused and simply replies, "Yes." He even appears a little hurt by her rejection at first, before that aforementioned temper takes over, which does make sense. After all, Princess Peach or not, you do not bruise Bowser's ego and get away with it. But the point is, Bowser is so self-absorbed and such a brute, which isn't at all helped by the fact that such behavior is validated by everyone around him, that he automatically believes that Princess Peach will return his feelings for her, and if she claims she doesn't, then either she's just messing with him or needs a little persuasion. And again, because he has such a high opinion of himself, it's not even so much about him feeling he's owed her, but more that he can't comprehend why anybody wouldn't want him. Okay, So obviously both Bowser and Titan have entitlement issues when it comes to Roxanne and Princess Peach. But the thing is, it's an extremely different sense of entitlement. Because once again, Hal feels that Roxanne is his girl, and it's only a matter of him wooing her that stands in his way. While with Bowser, he's used to just taking everything he wants and thinks he's doing Peach a tremendous honor by asking her to be his bride. Because as I just got through saying, he believes he's so perfect that nobody would reject him in the first place. And while both mentalities are most definitely wrong, and not to mention extremely unhealthy, in the end they are vastly different because of where the origins of that entitlement comes from. And there's also how both handle that rejection. Because as I mentioned before, Hal tries repeatedly to kill Roxanne once she lays her cards on the table, while Bowser never actually tries to harm Princess Peach directly, and even offers to take her back after his defeat. What a guy. But the point is, Hal's entitlement also proves to be much more dangerous to the target of his lust directly. Because you have to admit, for somebody with an ego and temper like Bowser, the fact that he still desires her even after rejecting him and pretty much outright humiliating him makes him very different from Titan. It doesn't make him a good person by any means, just very different from how Hal handled the whole thing. And for one final thing, there's also how the audience is supposed to perceive the characters. Because to put it simply, Hal is supposed to come across as a complete loser. He's just your average unpleasant guy who throws a huge temper tantrum the first time he can get away with it and takes out all of his own shortcomings on everybody else. In other words, Titan is meant to be absolutely pathetic, while Bowser, by contrast, is meant to come across as much cooler. Or put another way, while his infatuation with Princess Peach is placed in the wrong from the start and the audience knows he's an idiot to even consider it, on the whole he very much comes across as your stereotypical pure evil villain that the audience just loves to watch. He's the type of bad guy one secretly roots for, even if they know he'll never actually win in the end. So once again, as a result, his lust for Peach is played pretty much for laughs because of how absurd the whole thing is, which is in major contrast to Megamind, where Hal's issues are played much straighter and treated as a serious subject. Simply put, one is trying to say something about some men's entitlement issues for girls, while the other is about a lovable villain that doesn't stand a chance of getting the girl he wants, and the audience both knows it and laughs at him for it. And honestly, even if you want to disregard everything else I just said, the two still couldn't be compared to each other for that reason alone. And in the words of Megamind, what is that important difference? Presentation! But joking aside, the point is that Hal is meant to be a deconstruction of superhero characters who long for their love interest. Though the difference, of course, is that said heroes are also good people who will always respect a woman's choice and would only date her if she loved him back. Which is where the deconstruction courtesy of Hal comes in, because instead of respecting Roxanne's wishes as a normal hero and person would, he will not stop until he has her for himself, and does not take it well when she tells him otherwise. And because the writers understand that this is an issue in the real world, they treat it with all the seriousness it deserves. With Bowser, however, the whole thing is completely ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about a turtle-like dragon creature, an evil brute, lusting after a beautiful, all-loving princess, whose ego is so big that he believes she could never possibly reject him? And the movie smartly plays the whole thing for laughs, while at the same time still giving Bowser an understandable motivation to justify his actions. And again, that alone makes the two characters very different, because one is played straight with a lesson to be taught, and the other isn't. But that still doesn't mean that at the end of the day, having the mentality that either of those characters do is not a good or healthy one to have. And both movies do a pretty good job of getting that particular point across. Okay, that's everything I've got on that. So now I'd like to hear your opinions. Do you believe that Bowser and Titan actually have a lot in common when it comes to their particular sources of infatuation? Or do you agree with me and think they aren't as similar as they might appear at first glance? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And like always, you don't have to agree with me or anything I said in this video if you don't want to. You are most definitely entitled to your own opinion on this, and I have no issue if you disagree with me. And thank you all for watching. It is very much appreciated. And I hope to see you all next time.